A community of inquiry is a group of learners who interact collaboratively through discourse and discussion to construct meaning and understanding. The groundwork for the community of inquiry model began in the late 1800s by a scientist by the name of Charles Sanders Peirce. Peirce theorized how to approach topics without the use of one's opinion, but rather with the help of the scientific method. A popular analogy looks at the findings of three blind men examining an unknown object. The unknown object, as we can see, is an elephant. Each man examines a different part of the elephant's body and believes that he has identified the unknown object. Without collaborating with the other men, each individual would never know that they had found an elephant. Peirce proposed the idea of pragmatism, a formal logic of inquiry that applied to science. He believed that communication and community were instrumental factors in scientific discoveries. Another significant philosopher that contributed to the development of the community of inquiry framework is John Dewey. Dewey further confirmed Peirce's belief of the important role of community when working towards a common goal. His beliefs were the first to connect the role that schools would have within this theory. In John Dewey's vision, schools were meant to resemble society and were to be democratic in nature. These ideas were substantial to the field of education as it shifted the emphasis from rote academic learning to inquiry and application in the real world. The ideas of Peirce and Dewey were furthered by a group of researchers from the University of Alberta. The current Community of Inquiry framework was developed by a Canadian research project that concluded in 2001. The project sought to discover how to effectively utilize video conferencing when creating communities of inquiry for education. The Community of Inquiry framework represents the elements involved in creating a constructivist learning experience. The first of these elements is a social presence. Social presence is the ability of individuals to interact with the learning community as their real self, communicating and collaborating in an accepting environment with other members of the community. The second element is cognitive presence. Cognitive presence is the ability of learners to construct and confirm meaning through engagement and reflection. This includes forming ideas, connecting ideas, and applying new ideas. The final element is teaching presence. Teaching presence is the design, direction, and facilitation of materials to stimulate both the cognitive and social processes. Combining these elements creates the setting of the climate of the community, selecting the content, and supporting the discourse of the learners. Together, the social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence make up the educational experience. The development of the Community of Inquiry framework has led to numerous research studies about its applications in online learning, as well as within fields outside of education, such as public administration. Active research projects focus on analyzing the effectiveness of e-learning programs. The goal is to identify the characteristics of successful online courses in a variety of communities of learners. Most e-learning programs adopt at least one of the elements described in this framework. Typically, the teaching presence is the central element that is brought into the design process. The research on the Community of Inquiry framework focuses on how a program's success can be attributed to how well it adheres to all three presences. In a comprehensive study, it was determined that the success of a massive open online course, or a MOOC, was directly linked to the implementation of all three presence elements. This result contradicted the notion that MOOCs were successful solely due to teaching presence. The research reinforces the importance of embracing all three presences in the instructional design process. Another research project was conducted on a group of 97 students to determine the effect of using Facebook instead of a traditional platform such as Moodle on the three elements of the presence. The study claimed that Facebook was just as successful as Moodle in teaching presence and cognitive presence, but allowed students to improve the social presence aspect of the course. Each of these examples of research on the Community of Inquiry framework clearly shows that integration of this model benefits the success of the instructional programs. Click the link in the video description to learn more about the Community of Inquiry framework.